dog's experience in Romania, 9 years. So the point of view is the point of view, my part is the point of view of the sender, the organization that needs, for some reasons that we will see together, to send dogs abroad. As Adrian said, this is a very controversial issue, and I'm sure that in this conference room there are people with different opinions about sending dogs abroad and rehoming abroad. Maybe at the speakeasy we can have a chat, and I'm sure, I hope we won't argue, and we won't argue, but I'm sure there are different point of view. What is very important, and I'd like to state from the very beginning, is that rehoming abroad is not the key factor of a successful TNR project. It can help, but it's not the thing you have to focus on. And this is something I would really like to underline. When should you rehome abroad? This is the first question you should ask yourself. And the answer is when you cannot rehome locally dogs that reach your shelter. I hope none of you have this kind of shelter. It was just an example to show an overcrowded facility. But this is the situation when you have only two options. When you cannot control the numbers of your shelter, and one thing you can do is euthanize. The other thing is rehoming abroad, because if there is no request of dogs in the country you're working in, and if you cannot decide how many dogs enter your shelter, because dogs are dumped there and you have to take them in, you cannot let them out of the door, these are the two options. Of course, whatever the policy and the ethics of your charity are, you have to discuss internally this issue and make a decision, and the sooner the better. Don't find yourself unprepared, having a shelter, thinking that you'll be able to decide how many dogs and cats will be inside the shelter, because it will not always depend on you. Of course, I'm talking like a charity working in Romania, a very dramatic situation. Probably in other countries you won't have that kind of pressure. First question, if you decide that rehoming is an option for you, is the option, or can be combined with euthanasia, so there are different policies. But if rehoming is an option, then you should ask yourself which countries I should target. And there are, I think, some characteristics that the receiving countries should have. First of all, there should not be a problem with stray dogs. Secondary, shelters of this country, if there are shelters, should have good standards and a very high rate of adoption. Euthanasia should not be used as a tool to keep control of numbers. Because what's the meaning of rescuing the dogs in Romania, which is destined to death, and sending it to a country where thousands or hundreds of thousands of dogs are killed? It doesn't make much sense to me. And you can also choose a country that has dogs in shelters, but where shelters do miss certain kind of dogs. I'm thinking about Northern Italy, where Save the Dogs rehomes dogs. Small sizes are not very common, so we rehome many small sizes in Northern Italy, and I know that many people have not bought a small size dog because they found one of our small sizes in the shelter. Second question after choosing the country is, who is the partner I'm looking for? Why am I talking about a partner? Because personally, I don't think that we are able, as a sender of dogs, to handle the adoption process in the receiving country. You need a partner, somebody that knows the environment, knows the culture, knows the law, and is well rooted in the territory. So don't think about starting such a program without a partner, because it's going to be a failure, in my opinion. And here you have two options. You can find a group which is already active, a charity with some experience, but normally groups already have partners. So you must be very lucky to find a group that has no partner in a developing country. The other option is having a group of people that want to organize themselves, want to build up a charity, and want to seriously look after the adoption. Of course, the partner will have a different culture from you because we are sending dogs from Romania, and Romania has some specific situations and specific culture, which is different from Jenny's country. Jenny is Finnish, and of course there is a cultural difference. But there must be a common view on animal welfare. We must share the same values. This is absolutely mandatory in my opinion. After that, you need a partner who is well organized, no matter if they are volunteers, but they need to be skilled and to have take responsibility for the dogs that they are receiving. And it's very important to have a backup families or backup solutions for those dogs that are rehomed, there is a problem, and of course we want to avoid useless euthanasia. Something which is normally neglected, and which I have neglected at the very beginning 9 years ago, is the agreement, a written agreement. You need to sign something. Even if you are small charities, you are friends, you have very good relations, doesn't matter. Things can always change. Make written agreements stating the duties of each partner involved. Something else that we animal lovers, animal welfare activists tend to neglect, financial issues. You need to discuss with your partner who is paying what. And again, from the very beginning, when you sign the agreement, this should be included in the agreement. Try to make a plan and split the expenses. And please, never forget that you should not feel ashamed of talking about money. Money is necessary to run our projects, to run our activities. A rehoming project requires a lot of financial resources. Don't feel ashamed of telling your partner, listen, we need to talk about money. It's not money you're going to use to go on a holiday. And here we go to the real protagonists of the rehoming program, which are the dogs. So a very quick overview on the kind of dogs that you should propose to your partner. First of all, I think that the partner should brief you about the kind of dogs that are more adoptable and more successful in the receiving country, because we have no idea. I don't know what kind of, I didn't know years ago what kind of dogs are easily rehomable in Finland, so I need a partner to brief me. Try not to be emotional in picking out the dogs that you want to send. Don't take the dog that you love mostly. Maybe the dog that you're more attached to is not suitable for that program, so try to step back a little bit, which is not easy for animal welfare people, we know, because we're all very emotional. And if possible, ask the partner to send a person or volunteers to come over and choose the dogs directly. If you have some money, I warmly advise that you have a person working on the ground, in my case in Romania, that has the skill and the know-how to communicate with the partner, to analyze the dogs, describe the dogs, and matching the dogs with the right family, of course with the partner. It's a teamwork. I have two people like that in Romania, one for each shelter. They are attending Dogs Trust trainings, and they are increasing their skills every year. So that's extremely important. Do not improvise. Rehoming is an extremely complex issue. Medical issues. Of course, you have to make sure that the dogs undergo certain procedures which are required by the law, but also by the partners. The law is focused on rabies. And we know very well, we've been hearing a speech about infectious diseases. We need to undergo many more procedures than the ones that are requested by the law. And never forget that we have a responsibility towards the partner that has a reputation in its country and towards the dogs of the receiving country. Don't think only about your animals. These animals will get in touch with other animals in the country where they are sent, and they should not carry a disease or put in danger the lives of other animals. Never forget that. Paperwork. I'll be very quick here. Sonia this morning mentioned the regulation 998/2003 that has been, if I'm not wrong, modified in 2010. But every single country has significant exceptions. So my advice is to read regulations, but to always contact your local vet department. Why? Because we need to be transparent. If you believe that international adoptions are important and your intentions are honest, why hiding it? Even if this might create some enemies, because we know very well, like in Eastern Europe, how difficult it is to deal with officials and how corrupted they can be. But it's better to tell them what you're doing and that you are doing it in a legal way. And you must be able to keep files of the dogs you're sending, especially if in the country you're working in, like Romania, there is no database, no national database. So you need to track all the dogs that are leaving from your shelter. And this will allow you, collecting data will allow you to defend your work before the public, before the authorities. So be transparent. This is a practical question that you should ask yourself if you decide to start a rehome program abroad. And how do we get the dogs friendly? First issue is an animal welfare issue. The second one is a cost issue. Welfare issue, which is the best way to travel for the dogs? What will be the temperature? How long will the trip be? I would not advise you to transport dogs like this. This is a transport from Spain to Italy during summer. I don't think that the airing system is correct. The position of dogs are very high, so they feel the movement of the van. It's a long trip. I don't think this is okay. I would rather go for this kind of solution. This is a transport from Bucharest for Save the Dogs, my organization. It's a 2-hour trip with a plane. The plane is air-conditioned, and the dogs seem to stand very well the trip. Of course, there is also a cost issue related to the transport. How much does each transport cost? Try to make a plan. Can I cover all the expenses on my own, or do I need a partner to give a contribution, or is the partner able to cover all the expenses? This depends very much on the fee that the partner is receiving from the families. Are the trips financially sustainable on a long term, or should I fund them? All questions that you must ask yourself. But then, eventually, after each trip, you should take some time to enjoy the pictures of the dogs that you have at home and take inspiration and strength from it to go on